Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Madeline Lemon, and today I'm going to be sharing my health journey with you. So, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was 14. That was about 16 years ago, so it's been a very, very long journey. And I was looking through my old photos before I started filming this video today to post some of them up here as I'm talking, and it brought back a lot of memories. And I started questioning whether or not I should post this video because it felt strangely vulnerable for strangers on the internet. But then I remembered being so sick and how much I would have appreciated to hear someone else's story when I was in the midst of that hardship. And so that's why I'm sharing this with you today, in hopes that I can make you feel, if nothing else, like you're not alone, and that there is hope for full healing of your body, and that you're not always going to be sick for the rest of your life. Okay, so let's get started. So I had a pretty uneventful childhood. I played outside all the time as a kid. I was really into dance, ballet, tap, and jazz, and I was generally a really happy kid. And when I was 12 years old, after I graduated the 5th grade, my family moved out to a farm in the middle of nowhere. So I went from going to a public school to being homeschooled. I left my dance classes and lived in the middle of nowhere with no friends, just my family, which my family is great, but it was a pretty eventful moment in my life. And if you've heard of the rain barrel concept, which has been popularized by Stephen Cabral, which his book, by the way, The Rain Barrel Effect, is awesome. I would highly recommend it. But anyways, that is the theory that basically you are building up constantly things in your body that could make you sick. And then usually there's an event that triggers illness. So it could be something extremely traumatic. It could be a stressful life event, like uprooting your whole life and moving out to the middle of nowhere. But I 100% believe that that was the trigger for me. I went from being a super healthy, albeit really skinny kid, to having diarrhea 8 to 10 times a day, being absolutely emaciated, missing days and days of school, and having no idea what was going on. So I probably started developing symptoms when I was 13, and I wasn't diagnosed till I was 14. So it took a long time to figure out what was going on. So we started with general practitioners, and they couldn't give any answers. And we even went down to Florida at one point to meet with a holistic doctor who told me I was allergic to corn and soy. And so I stopped eating that, and I just kept getting sicker and sicker. So we finally ended up at a gastroenterologist, which is the kind of doctor that works with the digestive system. And they did all kinds of tests on me, from barium x-rays to colonoscopies to endoscopies to CAT scans, or I don't even remember. There were so many different things that we did at that time. And doing a colonoscopy, they discovered that I indeed had Crohn's disease. And I don't think I realized the magnitude of that diagnosis at all when I was diagnosed. I was told basically that I was going to have this disease forever. I would always be on medication. I would probably be up and down with sickness for the rest of my life, that I should go home, I should eat anything and everything to try to gain weight, take this medication, and come back every 3 months to get checked up on. So as you can imagine, that was a shock, to say the least. I, on the one hand, was really happy to have answers because it had been months and months of feeling so sick and not having answers. But obviously at the same time, when someone tells you that you have this life sentence, it's extremely daunting. So I went home and I took all the medications that they gave me. I took high doses of steroids, very high doses. And for a short time, it was awesome. At 14 years old, I weighed 80 pounds. I was absolutely so skinny looking. My doctor told me when she first met me that I was either anorexic or I had Crohn's disease, and she was right. I looked so skinny. And when I started taking prednisone, I got a ravenous appetite, which was awesome. I could eat and never feel full. I started gaining weight, which was awesome, except for one thing. If you know anything about prednisone, you'll know that there's a condition that's associated with it called moon face, which is basically when you gain a ton of weight in your face, which is all water, and in your hips and stomach, and basically all the places that you would never want to gain weight. And my friend's sister used to call me Luna because my face was so round and swollen. And it was awful. I was so insecure. I had braces and this face, and it gave me acne, and it was just, it was really, really awful. And to boot, it didn't really help. I got relief a little bit. I started having less diarrhea. I was able to go back to school, but it was a crazy journey, and I never really felt well. So I was on all kinds of different medications for years and years. And when I was 19, I went in for a routine colonoscopy because at this point I was getting them probably every 6 months to a year. And they told me that I had the size of like a pencil or a pen, so probably the size of my pinky, in my intestines for my food to get through. And they told me that I needed surgery. At the time, I thought that it was actually a great idea. I was like, oh, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to get surgery. I had heard about people having surgery and it cured them and they never had symptoms again. So I was obviously thinking, of course, this would happen to me. So I went in for the surgery, and which was, obviously traumatic and super painful and hard. So they cut out about 1 foot of my small intestine, 1 inch of my large intestine, the appendix, and the ileocecal valve that connects the large and the small intestine. And for about 3 months after that surgery, I felt great. And then my symptoms came back with vengeance. My diarrhea came back full force, the pain after eating, the weight loss, and everything in between. So that started a second round of all kinds of medications. Now, I was refusing to ever take prednisone again. I told my doctor that I would never, ever, ever, ever take it again because besides the physical symptoms, it gives you like basically mania at night. I couldn't sleep. I have nightmares. I was like manic. The psychological effects were actually really, really horrible. And so she started putting me on all kinds of things. I went from injecting myself a couple times a week to taking all kinds of pills, and nothing worked. In fact, a few years later, as I was still faithfully taking my medication, I developed side effects from the medications. I got psoriasis and cysts, really, really large cysts underneath my skin. And when I went to my doctor, at this point I was seeing a different doctor, he told me that it was caused by the medication that I was on, which ironically is used for psoriasis, which was really confusing and infuriating. And something happened to me in that moment. I snapped. And after 10 years of being on all kinds of medications, I decided that I was done and I was going to quit all of my medications cold turkey. The reason I decided this was because I thought if I could develop these side effects, who's to say that I wouldn't develop the ovarian cancer that's also warned against as a side effect on this medication, or any of the other ones that were listed in a huge, huge long list. And of course, this is not good advice. This is not advice that I would give anyone to just completely stop taking your medications. You should find a doctor you trust and work together with them if you're wanting to do that. But I was just at the end of my rope. I was furious. I was so, so sick. And I wanted to try anything except medication. So I embarked on the very beginning of my journey to health. I started what's called the specific carbohydrate diet, which is an extremely restrictive diet in hopes to completely heal my gut from the inside out. And while I discovered an amazing passion for health in this process, I was actually sicker than ever when I was doing this diet. I lost a ton of weight because my diet was so restricted and I didn't know the right way to do it because I didn't have help. And I was having tons and tons of diarrhea and just generally so, so sick. So after doing that faithfully for 6 months without stopping and without cheating at all, I decided that I was over that because it just wasn't helping. And I didn't feel like I knew where to go. I had seen other doctors, more holistic doctors, gotten a bunch of supplements, and nothing was really helping. So this is the period of time that I would call like just ignore the problem and hope that it goes away, which obviously is a horrible way to go about things. But I spent the next few years just eating whatever I wanted, and actually I was okay. I managed my life. I was sick a lot of the time, but I was also feeling okay a lot of the time. And I just made it work. But then I embarked on a crazy journey. So for 2 years, the last 2 years, my husband and I have lived in an Airstream trailer. We traveled full time in it, working from there and traveling the country, which was absolutely an amazing journey. But the last 6 months of that journey, I was getting sicker and sicker. So we spent the last 6 months in Encinitas, which is a city that's outside of San Diego. Beautiful, beautiful place. And in spite, at this point, absolutely being really healthy with my choices of food, exercising regularly, getting in the sun all the time, laying on the beach, generally like a pretty stress-free life, I was feeling sicker than ever. And it just got to the place where I was so ill that I decided that we needed to move back to Nashville and I needed to get help, have someone on my team, someone guiding me through the process. So just to give a little example of where I was at, last summer, or this past summer, I went on a kayaking trip with my husband and some friends. And in the middle of the kayaking trip, I had to discreetly pull my kayak over to the side and walk back and take a shit in the woods and have massive diarrhea alone back there, just praying that no one would come and find me. It was humiliating and absolutely horrible. And that solidified my desperate need to get healthy. I couldn't ignore the problem anymore. So I found the most amazing health coach. Her name is Kirsty Worth, and she has a company called Cultured Wellness out of Australia. I heard her on a podcast about a year ago or a year and a half ago, and I immediately thought that I had to work with her. No matter how much it costed, no matter what we had to do, I was going to make it happen because I was just so desperate and I needed an expert. So about 4 months ago, my husband and I both started her gut healing program. And I mean, it's hard for me to comprehend the journey that we've been on. I'm feeling a lot better now. It's pretty remarkable, actually. Before I started the program, I was going to the bathroom like 8 to 10 times a day, and now it's probably around 3. I still have some digestive issues. I'm definitely not healed completely, but I'm well on my way, and I'm just so thankful for resources. And it's funny when you tell the story in a concise manner and realize that I don't even know if it comes across like how many years I just spent so sick. I got to the point before starting this program that I just couldn't even leave the house for more than an hour because I was terrified that I was going to be somewhere without a bathroom or be in a public place where I had to go to the bathroom. We went to the beach in October before I started the program this last year, just a few months ago. And it's an 8-hour drive, and we probably had to stop like, I don't know, 5 times for me to go to the bathroom on the way down there. It was just debilitating. And if you've ever dealt with chronic illness, you realize that you get to the place where it becomes normal. And I don't think even my family or my friends understood how sick I was and how I wasn't sleeping at night, waking up 15 times a night, and just super low energy. Like I said, diarrhea all the time. But what's crazy to me is that even in this period of my sickest time, I was able to find resources and find help. And I'm just so excited to be on this journey of health now. Like, I just look back on myself even 4 months ago and I realized like, oh my gosh, how did I ignore this for so long? How did I not realize how important this was and how good I could feel? Now, this journey on this new chapter during this gut healing program is very up and down. I'm doing a lot of cleanses. They tested me for like everything in my gut. So I've been doing a lot of herbal cleanses with like Clostridium and parasite cleanses and candida cleanses, while at the same time being on a really restrictive diet. So the diet is based on the keto diet, but it's like a super, super clean version of that. So it's basically meat, vegetables, really good fats. I can't have fruit unless it's fermented. I can't have nuts. I can't have nightshades. I can't have dairy. There's a lot of things that I can't have. I can't have vegetables unless they're cooked. But for the first time, I don't feel deprived. I feel nourished, and I feel like I am absolutely doing the right thing. Now, I'll get to a point when I can start reintroducing foods back in. So it's not like a forever diet where you can't eat these things forever. It's just a certain period of time to allow your body to heal. And then as you heal and get strong, you start adding this stuff back in. So that's my story. And I know I'm not alone. I know that a lot of you who are watching this, if you've made it this far, probably have some type of chronic illness yourself. And the reason I wanted to film this was to ask you if you want to go on this journey with me. My entire mission right now is healing and helping others discover the power of healing their own bodies and souls. And so, like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm going to be recording a video and posting it every Friday, and it will have to do with health and wellness and fulfillment. That's a key one, because no matter how much kale you eat, if you are miserable in your life or are dealing with chronic stress or massive onslaught of chemicals, you're not going to get well. So that's an extremely important component of all of this as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure to hit the subscribe button below, because that will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos that I'm posting on Fridays. And I think if you hit the little bell there as well, it will send you a proper notification. Okay, guys. Thank you so, so much for listening to my story, and I would love to hear your story as well. So if you want to comment below and tell me your story, you can also feel free to comment or DM me on Instagram. My handle is @MadelineLemon. I post a lot of things actually on Instagram, from what I'm eating in a day to little health tips to what's going on in my life. So we can definitely connect there. And yeah, as always, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching.